So FDA has said that it will apply its normal high standards to any approval of a COVID vaccine. And has also said that they will require that vaccine to show at least 50% reduction in disease in that trial. So if FDA saw that in a trial, they have said that they could be convinced to go ahead and approve the vaccine. And that also assumes that the safety data are all good, and that the other thing that most people don't realize is FDA very carefully reviews manufacturing and quality of the vaccines and be sure that they can be made consistently and high quality every time. So it's possible that if that kind of result occurred, the best of all possible results, the sponsor can submit that data to FDA. FDA usually performs its own analyses. One of the unique things about FDA is it doesn't just necessarily accept the sponsor's analysis, but will analyze key data itself and ask questions. If they do that, then what they've said, and they believe the vaccine meets the criteria for approval, they've said that they will bring it to their external advisory committee, which is called the VRPAC, which is a group of independent non-government experts, and they will bring that data and evidence there for discussion prior to finalizing an approval. So that's an opportunity for other experts and the public to potentially weigh in. So they're going to follow a normal process, but it's going to be accelerated because of the pandemic. There's a provision called emergency use authorization that was designed for terrorism and public health emergencies that allows FDA to potentially make available an unapproved product for wider use and outside of a normal clinical trial. And this has created a lot of controversy around COVID vaccines because of some of the events that have occurred around emergency authorization of drugs for treating COVID, where the White House and, in fact, the president have seemed to advocate or place pressure about specific drugs, and where a couple of FDA's authorizations have raised a lot of questions in the mind of scientists and the public. What's important for the public to know about emergency use authorizations is it does not require that FDA make its normal determination that the product is effective and safe. It's not the same as an approval. All that is required is that it appears promising, and FDA can conclude that it may be effective, and FDA scientists review what's known and make a scientific judgment that they believe the likely benefits outweigh the likely risks. So it's a much lower standard. Now, so there's much debate about would that ever be appropriate for a vaccine. Given that vaccines would be given to millions or globally potentially billions of people and are given to healthy people, obviously we need them to be extremely safe. So my thinking on this is, there's lots of different opinions, but my thinking is that there should be very conclusive evidence on the safety front from these large clinical trials. In other words, if we have tens of thousands of people and there haven't been safety concerns, we can be reassured. It doesn't rule out something extremely rare, but it rules out something common. And in addition to that safety evidence, there should be clearer evidence of effectiveness. So there may be a case where you have that, but where certain aspects of the data that need to be provided to FDA are not ready yet. An emergency use authorization might be appropriate when there's strong evidence of safety from those large trials and also good evidence of effectiveness. But maybe there are other aspects of the application or the data that are not yet submitted to FDA or quite ready, or there's additional data to be collected. But I think only in that circumstance where there's compelling evidence of safety and effectiveness should there be a vaccine emergency use authorization. The reason an authorization might be appropriate in those settings is, if we have an ongoing pandemic that's costing 1,000 lives a day in this country and many more around the world, there may be benefits to not waiting the potentially few months until something becomes available under an approved status. In those cases, I also think the vaccine should only be targeted to people at highest risk. And what's been really difficult and important is for those people who might receive it understand that it is not yet FDA approved and why that is. There's been a lot of confusion, like when hydroxychloroquine was authorized for treating COVID infection, I saw newspaper headlines that said FDA approves hydroxychloroquine, and many politicians said the same thing. That confuses people, and it's so important about our vaccines that people understand if they might take something that isn't yet FDA approved, and if not, why not? If it's been shown to be safe and effective, that can be explained to people. But what are the data that are missing? What's the part of the process still to go? People need to understand that. The danger of all of this is that there's trust in this country is already quite fraught. The whole pandemic has become very politicized, and it's incredibly important if we're going to end the pandemic that if we do have a safe and effective vaccine, people trust it and want to take it, which there's a lot of reservations about out there shown in polling. And it's also critical because this is trust in all vaccines, which are part of what keep our whole society healthy.